Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. Last night I was able to check out WWE NXT on the WWE Network. That was the show from June 26th, 2014. I know the show wasn't live, but this is the first show that I sat down to watch all the way through to see if I can get the full feel of NXT. Of course, I've watched the NXT Takeover and I've watched the NXT Arrival shows. Those, I guess you could say, pay-per-views, and I really enjoyed them, but I wanted to see what a normal episode of NXT was like. There's so many people out there that every time you get down on Monday Night Raw, you get down on TNA Impact, they always bring up the fact is that if you are a real fan of professional wrestling and you really want to see wrestling and you don't want to complain about it, watch NXT and see what is going down. I really did enjoy this show. I will say that the one thing that really caught my eye was the NXT champion Adrian Neville going up against Rob Van Dam. I will say that the one thing I didn't like is that before I even started the show, I had a bad taste in my mouth about this, is because they advertised this as a non-title match. I knew that Rob Van Dam, wasn't going to win the NXT Championship and take it over to Monday Night Raw and start running around with the title or anything like that. So I really knew that Rob Van Dam wasn't going to get a clean win in this. But just basically the whole time I'm thinking, like, great, I'm going to sit through this 1 hour show, and once we get down to it, I'm going to have some sort of a disqualification finish where Neville gets to keep his championship, and I'm just looking for any way or excuse that this isn't going to have a clean finish along the way. It's the one thing that I'm thinking of the whole time. The show opens, it has a really cool open, and then it immediately goes to a black and white sort of sketchy TV, and two of my favorite people in wrestling have popped up on my screen. I know nothing about them. The Vaudevillains, I just know that, basically, they're coming out there with some sort of old-timey gimmick. One guy that looks like he's almost a rip-off of Matt Classic without the hood on. He's coming out, he's doing, old-timey, like, stretches deals, and he's wearing, like, an old-timey title around his waist. The other guy just looks like a straight-up sort of, Englishman, and I don't know a whole lot about these guys, and they wrestled in sort of a jobbers match where they beat these guys in about 2 minutes. But they were very entertaining. I loved their intro where it sort of looked like an old-timey black and white film, sort of without the voices on it. It looked like it was almost like a voiceover sort of deal. One guy came out with the huge microphone, megaphone, and the other guy put the microphone into the megaphone in order to have their own entrance coming out of the ring. It was almost like a Mr. Kennedy, but if Mr. Kennedy was alive in the 1800s and doing professional wrestling. Not much really about this match, but definitely Aiden English and Simon Gotch really got my attention, and they're two guys that I'm really going to enjoy seeing on NXT from here on out. From there, the next match started with Xavier Woods coming down to the ring, and immediately the thing that I was thinking through my mind was, what happened to the Funkadactyls music? I thought that he came out there, he stole the gimmick from Brodus Clay, and that's what made Brodus Clay turn heel, was that he stole his girls and all this jazz. Now Xavier Woods is coming out to something completely different. Right after that, CJ Parker comes down, and he's all pissed off. Something about the environment. He's holding up a sign trying to get everybody all pissed off. It said, "Every day is Earth Day and stop the big thaw." This guy, Bull Dempsey, comes out for his debut. This really reminded me of watching WWF Superstars back in the day, especially with it being a 1 hour show. None of these matches really having a whole lot of effect on what was going on. And involved in these matches, the first 3 matches, I think all 3 matches were debut matches for people. Bull Dempsey came down, and they kept on really portraying this guy as, he was the last of his era. It reminded me a lot of the guy that is over in Ring of Honor, who I just forgot his name. The guy that wrestled against Kevin Steen on the show, where he just looks like an 80s style wrestler. He almost is a rip-off of Magnum TA. I apologize for not being able to think of what his name is. I just don't watch Ring of Honor all that much, so it escaped me. But, Bull Dempsey really reminds me of somebody that should be driving the truck. And I thought since Xavier Woods was on WWE TV, appearing on Raw, SmackDown, he was on a pay-per-view a few months ago. I think he was on Extreme Rules in the 2-on-1 against Xavier Woods. I thought that he would get the win here in the developmental show, but Bull Dempsey, the guy that looked like he'd rather be driving the truck rather than wrestling on the show, got the win. It wasn't that impressive. My friend Mike, HBK Fan 25, told me that Bull Dempsey is a graduate of the school that Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder went to. I don't know what they see in this guy. He wrestles in an old-fashioned singlet, but the singlet doesn't come down and stop at like the chest level. It goes all the way. It's almost like the Borat bathing suit, if you can go back and remember that, but it's black. Not Andre the Giant style, but you know what I'm talking about. In the end, and after that match, we go to Becky Lynch having her debut. She's a redheaded sort of, I guess she's from Ireland. She likes to come out and dance. She's wearing green. She's a little bit big to be a leprechaun, but she's wrestling up against Summer Rae. Summer Rae is there and her BFFs. Charlotte, the NXT Women's Champion, and I can't remember what the other girl's name was, came down, and it was almost like because Charlotte was the champion now, you know, she was with Summer Rae, but they weren't really together all that much. I know that they've been running the storyline for a real long. I've heard a lot about it in reviews, but honestly, when it comes down to it, this is the first time I've actually seen it on my TV, and I haven't really, well, I know I did see the match when Alicia Fox went there, and she got showed up by the BFFs and got left in the ring. I do remember that match. I was on the network one night when I was just watching what was on the live stream. But basically, Summer Rae wrestled around with Becky Lynch. Before the match even started, they had a dance-off. But Becky Lynch was able to get the win over Summer Rae in this match. Summer Rae was trying to get help from the outside by the BFFs. Charlotte and her friend didn't want anything to do with her, sort of pushing her back as they reached for her as she was grabbing for the ropes, trying to get any help as she was getting rolled up into a sunset flip. And she got the 1, 2, 3. The BFFs ditched Summer. I don't know if this was sort of the close to be the end, or they're actually going to have a blow off, or they're going to have Summer wrestle against Charlotte for, you know, I guess you can say control of the BFFs, or just to put her over before she finally goes up to the main roster. I've heard that Summer Rae is actually going to be on the WWE pay-per-view. Wrestling against Layla for the love of Fandango, who's going to be the referee. But that's just rumored to me. I haven't heard it actually announced. So we'll go from there. There was a few more just straight-up job matches. Nothing really. I didn't really think a whole bunch of anybody here. Colin Cassidy against Sawyer Fulton. I saw Colin Cassidy wrestle at Access. He doesn't strike me as anything that's spectacular or anything like that. But from there, we went to the main event. Rob Van Dam wrestling against Adrian Neville in a non-title match. Of course, the number one contender came out there. He was the guy that beat the guy that beat Sami Zayn on the Takeover show. He was out there, and I was like, well, I guess he's out there. Now that he's there, he's going to be the guy that comes running in. He's going to make sure that Rob Van Dam doesn't get the win. So Neville still looks good. And then from there, or maybe even because it's a non-title, maybe he would come in and just screw Neville where Rob Van Dam gets the win, and he can look good going into the next big show. But he honestly just stayed up at the announce table. He really didn't do anything. The crowd at Full Sail University, they were really playing up Rob Van Dam. They were really behind him. They were giving him the ECW chance. They were giving him the RVD chance, and this was a match that a lot of people could really dream for. Adrian Neville and Rob Van Dam are two peas from the same pod. It just sucks that that it's not like in ECW around 2000, 2001. This would have been probably Rob Van Dam's biggest sort of rival if it wasn't for a guy like Jerry Lynn or something like that. So I mean that's the kind of match that I was really looking for when I saw this get put down. I saw Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam wrestle over a dozen times in ECW. Of course, when Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam ended up being in WWE at the same time, they put them on Heat, on a taped match, and they went out there and they had a 5-star classic that they got a whole bunch of actual heat for actually going out there and trying to steal the show during the pre-show. And they edited the show down, and everybody's always talked about how great that match was before the editing and how bad WWE made it really look. I think they turned like a 10-minute match into a 2-minute ordeal just to sort of teach them a lesson and anybody else who was gonna try to go out there and try to tear the house down. But this was an awesome match. I mean, this was really, really good. I know that they've been running the storyline with Rob Van Dam going down to NXT. It's kind of a surprise that they would send a talent like him there. Like I said, I'm new to this, so I mean I've seen some shows when I've been flipping by and noticed, like, Brodus Clay has been there. I know Tyson Kidd is involved in an ongoing storyline there with Natalya. But a guy like Rob Van Dam, I don't know, what kind of talent he is. Like a roll around, he's there sometimes, he's not there sometimes. To send him down there to NXT to really, I guess to put somebody over like Adrian Neville, since he gave Neville the win. RVD did do the Hulk Hogan 3-count kick out, where it was 1, 2, 3 kick out at the same time, and the ref gave him the win. And Rob Van Dam did argue the 3-count for a good minute before he actually got up and he showed the respect to Adrian Neville. But this is one of the matches that really puts NXT on the map for me. The show started and it was over before I really knew what happened. It wasn't like watching Monday Night Raw. It wasn't like watching Impact. I can see why it has a lot of fans. It's on Thursdays, so I can't really make that, like, I'm going to watch it, but I know that I was giving an hour to watch Legends House every week, so I'm looking for something to replace what I'm going to watch on Thursdays. And NXT easily could be moving into that thing that I'm going to do. But Adrian Neville and Rob Van Dam, it wasn't no 5-star classic, but it is a match you definitely should go out of your way. This whole episode was really good. You're going to get to see some people that are new to NXT. Like I said, there was 3 new debuts. Make sure you check out the Vaudevillains because they're going to be the real deal, and they're my favorite thing on this show. Peace out.